Make sure the recording is started. All right, so real quick, if you guys don't have the stream unmuted, make sure you have the volume right. I'm going to mute my microphone, but you'll be able to hear me in the actual stream. So just so everybody knows. All right, we will get started here in about 3 minutes. I'm going to let everybody hop in, and then we'll get going. But yeah, I'm hosting a My Funded Futures giveaway at the end of this webinar. So if you guys want to be a part of that, make sure you stick around to the end. And yeah, by the way, if you see anybody in chat saying they can't hear me, just let them know. Unmute the stream, click on the actual stream, and then they will be able to hear me. Okay. All right, I'm gonna get this rolling at 7:02. For now, how is everybody doing? Start with the questions. Let's go ahead and get them in, and let's get this rolling. Good, good. Awesome, awesome. Give me a 1 in chat if you can hear me. We got about 50 people in here, so I want to see 50 people putting a 1 in chat. All right, all right. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, it is about to be 7:02, and then we will get started. All righty. It is, Malcolm is probably somewhere under my bed. It was storming earlier, so. All right, it's 7:02. Let's get this going. So as of right now, we have about 52 people in here. Welcome in, everybody. Glad to have you. At the end of this stream, I'll be hosting a My Funded Futures giveaway. I'll be giving away 2 Starter Plus accounts, and we will have a good stream. So basically what I'm going to do is start with the setups that I took this week, why I took them, and essentially just the whole thought process behind the trade. So to start, let's go back to Monday. We will go to Monday at 9:30. So this was Monday's trade. It was a really, really nice trade. It was about a 6R from our entry. And let me just kind of go over exactly why I took it. So starting with our OHLC stat map, and if you don't have this, or if you're interested in learning more about it, I have a PDF that you guys can claim on that. So simply head to that link and you can grab the PDF for the stat map. But while I'm not sure why that, there we go. While we are doing that, let's go back to Monday, and we'll go to right before market open. Okay, so this was Monday. Now, my rule for the stat map is my bias is going to be whatever we hit, whichever manipulation level we hit first. Now on Monday, if you'll notice, we actually disrespected and closed above our bearish manipulation level. So there was going to be no trades until we respected this bullish distribution level, right? So we wanted to have a retracement off this. We didn't get it. So instead, we're waiting for this distribution level to take our trade. If you'll notice, we came up, tagged that level during our 10 o'clock, and that gave us our bearish bias. So right around here is when we tagged that gap or that level. Right, so if the way I use the stat map, if we close above this, I'm not using this bearish manipulation level on the daily OHLC using the hourly time frame. I'm waiting till our distribution level gets respected, and then I can take a trade. So let me actually bring that up here. I'll go into replay so you guys can see the stat map from this day. Here it is. So here's when we disrespected our bearish manipulation level. As you see, we tried to trade below it, but didn't manage to do that. And then we came all the way up here to our bullish distribution level and then had a nice rejection off of that instead. So let's get into the actual execution and why I took this. So hopping down to my 1 minute, because I'm a schizo and I like to watch the 1 minute, and that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As you can see here, our high time frame gap is going to be this new week opening gap that we had. Okay, so if we look back to my Trinity model checklist, the very first step is going to be whether or not we're in a high time frame gap, that being on the 15-minute and higher. So in this case, this is a new week opening gap. Obviously, that's going to match for the 15-minute and higher because it's a weekly gap, right? So next step was that SMT, and as you can see, I already have this drawn out here. If we skip over to ES, you'll see that we had a higher high and a lower high here on ES, while NQ in the exact same spot made a lower high and a higher high. Okay. And the last thing I need, as you can see, we have our high time frame gap, SMT divergence. The last thing we need is our low time frame entry. So on the 1 through 5 minute, did we have an inversion gap? So let's go back here, hop up a time frame or two. And as you can see, we had a 3-minute bullish fair value gap. Now, if you guys know, I only like to trade during macros. Well, this was outside of a macro. If we hop down to the 1 minute, you'll see that this is actually at 10:48, so 2 minutes before our macro starts. So I'm going to wait until we retest this inversion on our macro, and if we get a rejection, then I'm going to take the trade. So we wait, here's our macro, we retest this gap, reject it, and now we can take the trade because it's still respecting that inversion. Stop loss goes above the SMT, and now we can target A2R. Again, we take a standard deviation to find our targets, take that from the low to the high, and that's where we find our break-even point. -1 is always going to be my break-even point, okay? So 2R is right around here-ish. If we're doing 730, so more like right here. Okay, so that's 2R. And then I always leave a runner to our external liquidity, assuming that I'm able to trail my stop at each one of these standard deviation levels. Okay, so let's play this out. Let's see what happens. Oops, let me zoom in a bit. We come up, retest this area one more time. Again, we have not tested -1, which is our break even. And then we finally start to dump here. We do tag our break even right here. So now our stop is break even and we're risk free on the trade. Come on, don't do that. Let me move this. There we go. And so now we're taking the majority off at 2R and the rest off at our external liquidity. Play this through. There's 2R. There's the majority of my contracts. And then we hit that -2, so my stop gets trailed to right about here. We also hit -3, so then my stop gets trailed to -2. We hit -4, stop gets trailed to -3, and then we finally take that 930 external low. Okay, and that happens to be the low for the New York AM session. If we play this out, you'll see that's where we rejected off of and continued higher for the rest of the day. So beautiful, beautiful trade to start the week out. We had a sick, I don't know where my new week opening gap went. I guess I accidentally deleted it. So that's a problem. Let me get that back on the screen. Wrong one. Whoops. There we go. Bop, 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 bop. Bam. All right. We had our new week opening gap. We had SMT. We had a bearish bias because we respected our bullish distribution level, which means that we're at essentially max expansion for the day. And then we had a 3-minute gap that formed outside of our macro, so we waited for the macro to start and then reject from that gap where we took our entry with a stop above this SMT. Okay. And then from there, we had our break even at -1, which got tagged here. As you can see, we had a little retracement back up into our stop loss area, and we suffered a little bit of drawdown before we finally managed to come back out and tag that break even. But then once that break even level was tagged, we were risk free. Majority comes off at 2R, and the rest comes off at this external liquidity down here. I'm trailing our stop at each of these standard deviation levels, which is measured from low to high of the leg that caused this 3-minute inversion. Okay. Are there any questions about this trade before we move on? Then you wait for, if it doesn't retest immediately right as the macro starts, then you can wait for another inversion, which you had right here. We inversed this during a macro, so you could have taken the break of this wick. However, you may have had you would have had a little bit of a wider stop, or you could have waited for a 3-minute gap to form during the macro, or a 1 through 5, whatever, which did happen right here. As you can see, that gap happens during the macro and then also gets inversed. It doesn't matter if it's getting inversed during the macro, it can either form or get inversed during the macro. So we have a gap that forms during the macro and then it gets inversed. This could be your entry, but either way, that would be how you would do that. Okay. What other questions do we have? Please type a 1 in chat if you're clear on this trade and understand everything. I want this to be a very interactive experience. I want the most amount of people chatting as possible. And if you don't understand the trade, please ask your questions. Yep, absolutely. So my favorite macros to use are going to be the 920 to 940 macro, 950 to 1010, and 1050 to 1110. If you want this indicator, I will link it in chat. Bam, boom, bop, bam. There you go. Alrighty. So that was Monday's trade. Now, if I go over to Forex Factory and take a look at last week's schedule, you'll notice that we had Fed Powell talking on Tuesday and on Wednesday. Okay, so these two trades I did not, or these 2 days I did not trade on. That's simply because I just don't like trading during Powell. It's too volatile. It's too unpredictable for me, so I just straight up stay out of it. So we did trade, however, on Thursday and Friday. So let me take you to those 2 days. Skip ahead here. We'll go back to Thursday at around the same time. Now, Thursday was a really, really quick trade. It was super simple. This was the trade right here. It was a simple 2R. If I head over to the stat map, I'll show you what that looked like on Thursday. So here's Thursday. We'll go to about 9 o'clock and replay that. Okay, so here is Thursday. As you can see, yes, thank you, normals. On Thursday, we came up and we're respecting our bearish manipulation level. Again, all we're doing is wicking this. We didn't have any closes above this level. Okay, so that's going to be that bearish bias going into the morning. If I go back into replay here, you'll notice that our manipulation level is well above us at market open. Okay, so what we did here, we had a 15-minute gap that formed pre-market right here. We waited for a tag up into that gap. Again, a bearish gap because we are bearish due to the stat map showing us that we're bearish. We do end up trading up into that gap. And then a couple candles later, we form SMT between these two highs. If I pull up ES, you'll see we have a lower high and a higher high. And on NQ, we have that higher high and lower high, proving that SMT. This is also during our 920 to 940 macro. Okay. So we take a look at our 5-minute. What do we have here? A 5-minute inversion gap. We had a 5-minute bullish gap that got inversed during our macro, and that becomes our entry right here. Stop goes above this SMT, and we take this full leg because the 5-minute gap was right here as our standard deviation. Our break even is right here, and ideally we would have been able to target our external liquidity at the daily low. However, we were only able to grab a 2R for this trade. So I'll just put a 2R right there. We'll start this out. Quick reaction down. We hit our break even, so now we're risk free. We tag 2R right here, and that happened to be the low of the AM session. We continued higher for the rest of the day. So we got the majority of our contracts out, and then our last contract got break evened. Totally fine. We still made money, and that's all that matters. Okay. Any questions about this trade? Same exact scenario, same exact pretty much everything, to be honest. The only difference is that our manipulation level was respected. Are you talking about this 1-minute gap? Right here? This one? You could have, but then you would have risked. So, yes, you could have, but then you would have risked potentially using this 5-minute gap. So let's say your entry is like right here, right? You're essentially shorting into a bullish 5-minute gap. So, which you just don't want to do. I mean, it's not smart. If you're bearish and there's a unmitigated bullish 5-minute gap below you, you shouldn't be trading until that 5-minute gap gets inverse because the 5-minute is more powerful than the 1. Mike, I don't have anything to auto find SMT or anything. I'm just doing it manually. Okay. Any other questions for this trade? Put a 1 in chat if you understood everything. I should see 51 ones in these chat. There's 51 of you in here. Awesome. All right, let's move on. Moving on to our last trade of the week, Friday. Friday was our only loss, and it was kind of a silly loss, but I'll show you what happened. So let's get out of replay here. Let's go to the stat map on Friday first. Friday is right here. And 9 a.m. is right here. So this is Friday's stat map. As you can see, we open tag our bearish manipulation level, do not close above it, and reject it pretty hard. Okay, so I'm bearish going into Friday morning. If we look at Friday on here, what's it, 9:30? We basically had the same setup that we had on Thursday. We had, let me go here. Instead of a 15-minute gap, a 15-minute SIBI, no, the stat map is not free. Stat map's about $45 a month, but you can get 20% off with my link. I don't know why you got warned for that. That's weird. Here's the link. I'll have to fix that later. The warning thing. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so instead of using a regular 15-minute bearish gap, which we did have up here, we also had a 15-minute inversion gap. As you can see, we had a little 15-minute bullish gap here and a volume imbalance to match it. So we had this nice little 15-minute bearish gap that happened before market open. Okay, this is our 9 o'clock candle. So yeah, before market open. Okay. Now what we ended up doing is during our 9:20 macro, we came up, tagged this gap. Oops. Tagged this gap right here, and although these are equal highs, it still does count as SMT. Okay, I've taken plenty of trades where I've shorted at equal highs that have SMT between ES making like a lower high or a higher high, or ES making the equal highs, whatever. I've done it multiple times. It does not always work, but that's how it works with any single model. There's never going to be a 100% win rate model. It just doesn't exist. Okay. But as you can see, we have equal highs here on NASDAQ, but on the same spot on ES, we have a higher high and a lower high. Okay. So back over to NASDAQ, that's my SMT. We have the tag into our 15-minute inversion gap as well. And then we have this 1-minute bullish gap that I was looking to get inversed. And as you can see, that happened, but it did happen before market open. Okay, so this is 9:29 right here. So at market open, I'm going to wait for this to get retested and traded back below in order for me to actually take the entry. So here's 9:30. We tag right here. We close back below this inversion gap, and this becomes my entry right here. Stop goes at this SMT high, and we take a standard deviation from here to here because that's where our 1-minute gap formed. Targeting a 2R first and then our daily low. So a 2.5R was allowed for this one. If we see our break-even prices right here, but if you'll notice, we never actually tag that break-even price before getting stopped here. Now, this one was a little bit weird. At one point, micros did not tag my stop, but NQ did. So I ended up getting stopped twice on this simply because I re-entered after my micros got stopped, but NQ did not. And that caused me to have 2 losses right at market open. And my rule for general is never take more than two losses in a day. It's just not smart. If you take 2 losses, you should step away. And that's exactly what I did. And so, yeah, that was my only trade for the day. However, if you'll notice, at our 950 macro, we came up and retagged our bearish manipulation level. When we did that, we formed this 5-minute gap right here. Okay. And if we watch our 1 hour, you'll notice we never closed above that manipulation level. So if you were not stupid and didn't fuck up your entry in the morning, you would have had another chance for a trade, right? So 1 loss here, another one here, or not another loss, but another trade here. Okay. So waiting for this 5-minute gap to get inversed. First of all, we also had an hourly gap up here to use back at our all-time highs. So if I draw this out, it's not that one. It's this hourly inversion. Bam, 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 bam. As you can see, we tag up into this inversion. We had a weekly SMT actually here as well between these 2 highs. And then all we have to do is wait for this 5-minute gap to get inversed. Okay, so it gets tagged here. And you could have been risky and taken this inversion because it did technically tag another 5-minute gap, come back out, form another one, and then inverse that. So that could have been something. You would have had a smaller stop that way. Or you could have just waited for the 5-minute gap to get fully inversed, which happens right here. Okay, so the moment we break past this low again, that's the entry. Stop loss is here. It is a wide stop, so I understand that. Again, you had different entries here. You could have waited till your 1050 macro as well and waited for an entry off the 1050 macro. So you have a 1-minute gap that you can wait to get inversed here. That gets inversed. Great. But obviously, the best entry would have been up here. And probably, if I hadn't been a dumbass in the morning, would have been my entry as well. Because if you take a tag into a 5-minute gap and end up inversing, trading out of it, forming another inverse back through it, then that's another solid entry. Okay, so you could have had multiple things here. Ideally, still drawing this standard deviation, which is kind of huge, but you could also draw this, and that would be understandable as well. So no break even yet. Come down, tag. Don't tag -1 yet. Comes back up, just tickles your stop loss. Doesn't actually tag you. And then it comes down to your 2R and -1. And if you had a runner set to your external liquidity, which is all the way down here, if you'll notice, let's play this out. Oh, I lied. You would have gotten break even. I think at the end of the day, it did end up running down there, but you would have gotten break even of the rest of your contracts. But it's still, you would have gotten a 2R out of it, and that's all that matters. But if you play this through, there you go. External liquidity right there. Again, not a solid trade. This was a Friday. Mistakes were made in the morning. And yeah, so only loss for this week, but Monday and Thursday were both W's, and that's all that matters. I know, I also wish the dump was in the AM. I do as well. That's okay. What about the 10:08 1-minute gap on Friday? $10.08. Okay, I might be stupid, but I don't see a 10:08 gap. 10:12 here. This is outside of a macro, so no. Now, okay. Technically, it did tag into the 5-minute, so I guess you could have taken this, given there was SMT up here. It's risky because it did trade past this 1-hour gap, but here, as you can see, like we were back into it. But yeah, it could have been a solid trade. It would have been risky, but I mean, any trade up here would have been risky as we're approaching all-time highs. So, or any short rather. But yes, that is valid because using that same logic here, you would have done the same thing, right? So you could have either gotten an entry here or an entry here or an entry down here and just never seen your break even unless if you did wait for the 5-minute to get inverse, this would have been your standard deviation. And your break even wouldn't have been till external liquidity anyway, but that's still kind of crazy to even bother. But yeah. Any questions about this whole week, about the process, how I trade, how I use the stat map, how I enter, how I exit? Anything at all? If not, put a 1 in chat and we'll get started on the giveaway. Awesome. All right, looks like we're starting the giveaway then. We're going to have 2 winners for this. 2 winners getting a Starter Plus account for MyFunded Futures. And if you don't win, it's okay. You can use code Colin. You can see it in the stream. And you'll get the best possible discount for MyFunded Futures. The Trinity model is the same thing as the 3-step. It's just a different name. I like it cooler. I think it sounds better. But yeah, let's start that giveaway. So we'll make this last for 5 minutes. 2 winners. MyFunded Futures Starter Plus evaluation. All right. Oops. My bad. There we go. All right, guys, click the little button below. My dog's going crazy. Sorry. All right, sorry about that. My dog was freaking out. All right, click that button. Yes, I do not trade Asia. Asia is the worst possible session to trade, in my opinion. Just because it's I just don't like it. All the volatility comes in AM New York. I get it if that's the only time you can trade. Then it's kind of, Yeah, so T-Wald, I look at the way I do. Yes, that is true. Asia works great on gold. You can apply this strategy for gold in Asia. Good point. Thank you. I have one student of mine that does that, and he does very well with gold. No, can't win twice. The routine for the morning, I wake up pretty early. Early for most people, I guess. 7:30 is when I'm up. And what I'll do is essentially shower, get my coffee, read the Bible, and then hop on TradingView, see whether or not our stat map is being respected or disrespected. If it's being respected, I know I can trade that day, and that's my bias. If Yeah, so y'all are early risers. I can't do that early. I just can't. See if our stat map's being respected or not. If it is, then we can find a trade, and then I just kind of chill until about 9 o'clock. Yeah. So I have it set for a daily projection, but I only use the hourly chart to actually look at the stat map. So in my settings, I have midnight open, daily setting, or daily stat map, and I use the hourly to look at it. That's not true, Ollie. Shut up. We got 3 minutes on this giveaway. 3 minutes. What questions do we got? Anything at all? To enter the giveaway, I'll forward it here. Simply click the little popper button, little blue button with the little confetti dude on the giveaway thing, and then you can join it. It'll enter you. I think I made a video on how to find SMT. Let me see. Yeah, here you go. Bam. All right, we got 1 minute. 1 minute for the giveaway. We got 48 people in there. There's 64 people in here. You got good odds. If you want to enter the giveaway, click on this button right here on the giveaway text. Scroll up in the live chat. "30 seconds. "10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Who won it? Hey, Mr. Z and Damone. Congratulations. Please open a starter or a support ticket. Open a support ticket to claim your prize. You got 24 hours. That's not rigged. It's completely random generated. Z just got lucky. Yeah. Notice how it's all the premium members saying it's rigged. All right, boys. All right, let's see. There's Damone. He claimed his. Z, open a ticket if you want your account. There's no way he's 3 for 3. I don't believe that. I actually don't believe that. Not possible. That's like statistically impossible. That Georgia, I believe. Z said he's like 2 for 14 in the support. Nope, we'll give 2 more accounts. I'm only, listen, okay, here's the way it works. I'm only given the accounts to give away based on how many times my code is used for My Funny Futures. So the more people that use my code, the more accounts I can give away. There's a direct correlation. Okay? So if you want more accounts to be given away, you got to use code Colin. There's a deal going literally every week. But that's how it works. I have 2 accounts to give away this weekend and 2 accounts to give away next weekend. Yes, you can, Holy. Silly goose. Pass one, get one is literally with my code. I'm dead serious. Any single sale that My Funny Future hosts, you can use code Colin. Code Holy probably doesn't exist. Anyway, I do have a 7-day free trial. If I see a lot of people that are in here that have not joined my live trading. If you want access to the 7-day free trial, I'm sending a link right now in chat. Go click on that and you can start your free trial where I live trade every day. Your journey. And you can do it there. Yeah. Z check. Z won that. All right, guys. That's going to be all from me for today. Does anybody have any questions before I head out? The macro indicator is free. I sent a link in chat earlier, but I'll send another one. Macro indicator is free. Stat map is about $35 with my code. I'll send that as well. And then we have mine right here. Oh, that's right. I'll have to figure out how to do that, but I got you. All right, guys. You all take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. And for those of you who are signing up for the 7-day free trial, I will see you next week. Take care. Much love. Peace.